Okay, so I put in the board that has the test ROM in it, and I have this RAM card that was in a different set that I had marked bad. So let's put it in and see what the test ROM says. Power it up. We don't get anything. What's going on? That's not good. Oh, I guess I wasn't filming. Anyway, swap spots, and now I don't even see it on here. So the test ROM's not even booting. Alright, I put the both of my original RAM boards back in there. Yeah, now it boots. So there must be a catastrophic failure, I would assume, on this RAM board here. Let's take it to the bench and see if we can find a short or something. Okay, so I have the non-working board, yeah, right here. And I did see some corrosion kind of right around here, this cap area here. And I have a video, I'll link to it, where I had this ESR 88 meter and talking about how to detect shorted caps. But it didn't help me in the previous video, but then I figured, hey, might as well break it back out, right? So you take this ESR meter and we just go kind of to the sides here, and that reads good. And then we come to the next one. Yep, and that reads basically shorted, or that there's less than 250 DC resistance, ohms of DC resistance across the cap. And we'll go to this next one. That one looks good. Yep. And so that could just be the type of circuit. So I grabbed a board that I know is working, and we'll just do the same thing. And these are testing, you know, low ESR. They're not testing, they're shorted or anything. That one's good. Okay, that one is reading high ESR, I guess. Oh, there we go. It was just I wasn't making good contact with it. All right, so anyway, I'm going to go through. This is the good board. We already know that this one seems questionable. This one doesn't look that great anyway. And this one definitely seems like it's shorted. So I'm going to replace those, but we can come through and just test a whole bunch of them real quick. Yeah, that one sounds bad too. Yeah, so we got one there. So maybe this thing had gotten some damage before. So there, can't speak, but a whole bunch of them are not reading good. Yeah, so, and if I come over here, let's see. Yeah, a whole bunch of these caps aren't reading good. I'm assuming that they're shorted. Maybe all of this memory is shorted and stuff. So it could have gotten a bad voltage spike or something like that. Anyway, let me take some of those out and measure them out of circuit and start replacing some of these caps. Okay, I started going through. I desoldered this one. You can see that it actually, hopefully you can see that one of the legs completely fell off. So we know that one is bad. But why are these bad? It could be bad because some of these chips are bad. If I unsolder the ones that are reading bad DCR in circuit, I was desoldering one leg of them, and they seemed like they're probably okay out of circuit, and I can't even get a reading with this DSR. But I test the capacitance with my multimeter, and they read out okay. So I don't think like desoldering all these caps that are reading low. I think it's reading low DCR because of something in the circuit. And these are just decoupling caps, I think. So one side's tied to ground, one side's tied to 5 volts. So anyway, I'll do some more investigating, but definitely need to replace this. Okay, so hopefully I can work around this camera and give you a good view. Let's see. So I started probing around and stuff and using my ESR meter and pulling out those caps and stuff, but I was like, okay, well there's a short somewhere, right? And I don't know, like these capacitors were reading shorted. I didn't really understand, and then I started to make some sense out of it. So I'm pretty sure like these capacitors over here are 5-volt decouplers. I looked at the schematic. It doesn't really say that on the schematic, but I was just kind of testing. Actually, let me see how I can explain this. All right. I already knew these were, let me see how I can explain this. So I already knew these were 4027 RAMs, and I printed out the schematic right here, and it does tell you, you know, the components and stuff like that, and tells you that it's 0.1 microfarad capacitors that are these little tiny ones. And let's see, once I knew it was 4027 RAM, then I went and printed out the schematic on that and kind of marked off which pins were, I knew they were tri-voltage, but I didn't know which pins were what. So pin 8 is plus 12 volts, pin 9 is plus 5, pin 1 is negative 5, and then pin 16 is ground. And the schematic does say C1 is your minus 5 volt cap, which is right here, this top one. And then C2 is your 12 volt cap, and C3 is your 5 volt cap. So if I take my DSR meter, or my ESR meter, my EDS-88, let me just put it right like that, and come over here and put it on these caps. Hopefully you can see that. That one's good, and that is C3. That's the negative 5. No, that's the plus 5. And if I come to the 12 volt cap, C2, I'm reading a short. And if I come to the negative 5 volt, I'm reading good. So that kind of gave me an idea of like, all right, well, let's see with my regular meter, if I come to the 12 volt line on the RAM chip, which is pin 8, right, and go to ground, I have continuity. So my 12 volt line is grounded, and that's where our short is on the 12 volt line. So it could be maybe because it could be from any one of these chips. It could be, well, this is the only thing that uses 12 volts, so that probably rules out the TTL chips. So it's got to be a RAM chip or the capacitor, I guess. So I'm going to desolder one of the leg of this capacitor to verify it's not shorted. But that's pretty much what I was doing. And then I was able to figure out, like, if I come to, let's do the negative 5 right here, negative 5, and you come to yeah, you can kind of see like this pair of capacitors here are tied to the negative 5 volt line, and then it rotates when you go up one. So it should be here. So that means these are probably the 12. That's negative 5. That one's negative 5, and then up here. There. Maybe that one's not. Yeah, it alternates. Come on. Yep, okay. Right, so then this one, this one's 12 volt, this one's 12 volt, that one's 12 volt, that one's 12 volt, that one's 12 volt. So it's like 5, 5, negative 5, negative 5, negative 5, negative 5, negative 5, and then vice versa. So I don't know if there's an easier way for me to kind of figure out, sorry about that, what chip is actually shorted. I think my only option is really desolder the 12 volt leg until it stops having continuity. But we'll start with this cap down here, right there. We'll desolder that one and then see what we got. Okay, so I desoldered the 12 volt side of C2, and just to verify, I'll put my lead there, and you see I have continuity if I go to not to the leg of the cap, but just to the pad. I have continuity to the pin 8 of the RAM. And if I go from pin 8 of the RAM and go to ground, let me zoom out just a little bit right there. You see my short's gone. Pin 12 is no longer grounded, which is good. And then if I use my DCR meter, my ESR DSR, and just measure this cap out of circuit, it's still reading DCR low. So I think this cap is bad. It's a 15 microfarad, and that's good. That means that none of our RAM chips are shorted. Otherwise, we should still have the short, I would think, right? I mean, if any of these RAM chips had 12 volt shorted to ground, I would still be reading a 12 volt short somewhere. So let's replace this cap. See if I can 15 microfarad something. I'm sure I can find something. Okay, so I know you're not supposed to do this. This is a 15 microfarad tantalum cap, probably, that they have in here. And I don't have any 15 microfarads. So I'm going to use a 10 microfarad just for now, but I just placed an order. These things aren't cheap, man. They're almost like $2 a pop for a tantalum cap with a 10%. You have to get like that, the tolerance that low, like to 10% or lower, you have to get like a tantalum cap. But anyway, I don't know if you really need it or not, but I'm going to power it on. I don't give a crap. Let's try it. Put the 10 microfarad 25 volt cap in there. Let's put it in the board in the game. Let's board in. I replaced that the shorted 12 volt 15 microfarad cap, and I also replaced those other 0.1 microfarad caps. So let's turn the power on. Let's see what we get. Sweet, it's booting. We didn't have that before. And it's, booted to the test ROM. We'll press the button. See what happens here. In his instructions, it says that it'll run the test and it'll fail at the first test. Holt says it's good. We'll go ahead and just, so the test ROM says the RAM board's good. That's amazing. The only thing was wrong with that was a shorted cap, basically. Two caps, one, but the main one was that 12 volt cap. So let me put in that board without the test ROM in it and make sure the gameplay is fine. The other game board in there, the other ROM board, but doesn't have the test ROM in it. Looks good to me. Yep. Yep, it's working fine, so cool. Alright, so feel pretty good about that. Wasn't too hard, and we were able to use the ESR, the what is it? ED-88, EDS-88? Yeah, EDS-88 to find that short. We just realized that some capacitors were shorted and then went over and checked the 5 volt line, the negative 5 volt line, the 12 volt line, figured out which cap it was, and replaced it. I'm sure, I bet this 10 microfarad cap would be fine there, but I did order some 15 microfarad tantalum axial caps. And then I also replaced this one that was kind of in these. I replaced all 3 of these 0.1 microfarads, but only this one was bad. But I just figured, hell, I might as well. They're like cheap as heck. So replace those. So working RAM board, not a single bad RAM on it.